Hello, everybody. My name is Kevin, and this is the Veterans Gaming Podcast. I've been a New York Jets fan since 1982. So, in this video, I wanted to give my thoughts on the end of the Aaron Rodgers era in New York. Um, as many of you know, um, the new coach, Aaron Glenn, and the new general manager, Daryl Muji, I believe his last name is. They've decided to part ways with Aaron Rodgers, and so Aaron Rodgers will not be the New York Jets starting quarterback going forward. And in my humble opinion, I think that that is the best call that Aaron Glenn has made, and already Aaron Glenn has probably made, definitely, in my opinion, the most important decision in his first season as the head coach of the New York Jets. And here is why I believe the right call. If you are a new coach going into a new team, you want to you want to establish your own culture. You want to establish a new identity for your team. And if that means that you have to start with a new quarterback, which is the most important position in football, then I think that's what you need to do. With everything that happened with Aaron Rodgers in the past two seasons, I think the writing was on the wall. I've been hearing some news stories that some of the other general manager candidates uh, that interviewed for the Jets before Daryl Muji was hired, they also believe that it was time to move on from Aaron Rodgers. Now, I will say this. A lot of people are saying that next year the Jets are not going to win anything because they do not have Aaron Rodgers. A lot of Jets fans in particular believe that Aaron Rodgers as the Jets quarterback would give the New York Jets a chance to win next season. I have to say that the only way that that would work is if the offensive philosophy would have completely changed and not revolved around Aaron Rodgers and his skill set. It was only going to work if it revolved around running the football. I'm specifically saying if the Jets were to go with the ground and pound offensive philosophy, I think that it would have worked then, and I think it would still work regardless of who the quarterback is. You have at left tackle Ola Fashanu, who is going to be the starting left tackle for the New York Jets, barring injury for the next 10 years. I think he is going to be as good as maybe as Shaw Ferguson was in his prime. You have a very good free agent acquisition that Joe Douglas signed in the offseason in John Simpson, a young man, that a 27-year-old that came in from the Baltimore Ravens. You have Joe Tippmann, who was will be in his third season, drafted out of Wisconsin. You've got Elijah Vera Tucker going into his fourth season. It looks to me like his injury issues are behind him, which is good. Now, the real issue you're going to have is at right tackle. Do you keep Moses, the free agent, the 35-year-old free agent that we got from Baltimore? Uh, you may keep him for another year, but obviously you're going to have to draft a right tackle. But what I'm getting at is this offensive line is a young offensive line whose the core of that offensive line has not hit their prime yet. So you want to let that offensive line continue to grow, and this is an offensive line that I can see being a great offensive line for the next 5 or 6 years if you can keep them together, and if they are not injured. The biggest priority is keeping Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson is the first Jets receiver to ever have three consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. That's all you need to know. Don Maynard, God rest his soul, Hall of Famer, was not able to do that, even though it was a different time in the 1960s. You had Wayne Corbett who did not do that. Lavernius Coles did not do that. Keyshawn Johnson did not do that, and on and on and on. So you can make a legitimate case that Garrett Wilson is maybe already, with all due respect to Wesley Walker and Al Toon, some of the two of the guys that were Jets quarterbacks when I became a Jets fan in the early '80s. Garrett Wilson is legitimately making a case for being the greatest New York Jets receiver of all time. You have got to keep Garrett Wilson at all costs. Apparently, there might have been some alleged friction between him and Aaron Rodgers because, let's be honest, Aaron Rodgers was all he was looking at was Devontae Adams, Devontae Adams, Devontae Adams. They were trying to set their own records, and if it looked to me like at certain points they were leaving Garrett Wilson out in the cold. Now you have solved, if that was an issue, which it could have been, you have solved that issue on offense. So now you have to look at what the Jets are going to do at quarterback for 2025 and beyond. Obviously, Tyrod Taylor, a veteran who is injury prone, but when he plays, he is basically a functional quarterback, more of a game manager. You've also got Jordan Travis, who was drafted out of Florida State in the third round. Probably would have been a first rounder if it had not been for that injury that he had, that fracture of his leg. We have not had an opportunity to see him, so we don't know what Jordan Travis can do. And if they put him out there, he's going to be very rusty because he hasn't played in what, a year and a half, going on 2 years. So now the Jets have to make a decision as far as who's going to be the starting quarterback. Do you take Justin Fields, which is probably the best route? I've been hearing rumors about Kirk Cousins. I'm not down with that. You've been hearing rumors about Russell Wilson. I'm not down with that. The Jets will have the seventh pick in the draft. I don't think they should take a quarterback. I'm not sold on Shador Sanders, especially the way things ended for him in Colorado in that bowl game where they got smoked by BYU. I'm not completely sold on Cam Ward either, and I don't think the Jets should trade up to try to get either one of those two quarterbacks. But that's just my opinion. I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this video will disagree with that. The one guy that I do like that the Jets can take maybe in the second round is going to be a Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. I like him. I've heard a lot of good things about Kyle McCord, the quarterback out of Syracuse, who, by the way, was a New York Jets fan growing up. So I'm sure he'd be more than happy to come to the Jets. It's looking more like Tyrod Taylor will be the bridge quarterback for 2025 going into 2026. That's not to say that the Jets, with the talent that they do have, they can't win. On the defensive side, Quinn Williams, obviously a multi-time Pro Bowler. Uh, Apparently, he wasn't happy about Aaron Rodgers being let go, but he doesn't want to be a part of another rebuild. So we'll see. I don't think the Jets are going to trade him. I think that whole situation with that tweet, that's going to disappear long before training camp. But the Jets have talent on defense. You've got Quinn Williams, you've got Will McDonald, who, in spite of the really a horrible defense the Jets had in 2024, had 10 sacks. He'll be going into his third season. You're going to have Jermaine Johnson Jr., who tore his Achilles in week 2 against Tennessee. Hopefully he'll come back. I mean, he's not going to be back 100%, but if we can get a Jermaine Johnson at 85%, he was starting to cook too. So imagine if with him at 85%, how many more sacks Will McDonald will have. Hopefully the Jets can keep Jamie and Sherwood. I think it's his time to shine. I think it's time to let go of C.J. Mosley and let Jamie and Sherwood be the middle linebacker on a permanent basis for the New York Jets. You've got Quinn and Williams' brother, at outside linebacker, a fantastic young linebacker. DJ Reed has stated that he wants to leave the New York Jets and find greener pastures, tired of the losing. I don't blame DJ Reed for wanting to leave, and I have absolutely no hard feelings towards him for wanting to leave the New York Jets. Maybe with the hiring of Aaron Glenn, who is one of the greatest Jets players ever and one of the greatest Jets corners ever. A man who I would put alongside Darrelle Revis if I had to put my two starting corners for my all-time Jets teams, it would be Darrelle Revis and Aaron Glenn. So maybe with the arrival of Aaron Glenn, DJ Reed might change his mind, but I don't think so. The safety position, both free safety and strong safety, is a weakness. I would like to see Tony Adams come back next season. We don't know about strong safety. And then, in my opinion, the player that's going to be under the most pressure is going to be Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner, 3 seasons, only 3 interceptions. I was talking to a family member the other day, telling me that the week after Aaron Rodgers got hurt, they went to Dallas. Dak Prescott threw what should have been a pick six. Sauce Gardner dropped it, and then Dak Prescott got cooking. Dallas went on to beat the Jets, and it was, the season just kind of went downhill from there. There was an interception in the end zone against Minnesota this season that he dropped, and I just blew a gasket. The pressure's on for Sauce Gardner. Not only do you have Aaron Glenn, one of the greatest Jets cornerbacks, coaching you, the Jets hired a gentleman named Dre Bly. Dre Bly was an excellent cornerback who played for the Detroit Lions. Unfortunately for Dre Bly, he played on some pretty bad Detroit Lions teams. And then later on in his career, he ended up joining the Denver Broncos, and he and Hall of Famer Champ Bailey, they formed an outstanding uh, cornerback combination. Dre Bly was a member as a rookie. He was a member of the 1999 St. Louis Rams Super Bowl winning team. So he was able to win a Super Bowl in his rookie year. Again, out of North Carolina, had an excellent career, and he was a member of the St. Louis Rams 10th anniversary team, a two-time Pro Bowler in 2003 and 2004 with the Detroit Lions. So now Sauce Gardner, and this is going to be the biggest, most important year of Sauce Gardner's career. If he has a season like he had this past season, me personally, I would ship Sauce Gardner out of town. There's no excuse for you to not have a stellar 2025 season when you're being coached Aaron Glenn as your head coach, and then you've got Dre Bly as your cornerbacks coach. Sauce Gardner is going to be out of excuses. Getting back to Aaron Rodgers, again, the Aaron Rodgers experiment is over in New York. In spite of all the theatrics and all that, and missing training camp and the whole thing about when Robert Saleh went to hug him and he pushed him away and all that, I'm not really going to blame Aaron Rodgers because the whole issue with tearing his Achilles tendon. Um, if that hadn't happened, who knows? Who knows what could have happened? And unfortunately, that's been the history of the New York Jets. If you go back to 1999, the Jets were one of the favorites, a clear favorite to go to the Super Bowl that year and win the Super Bowl in that aforementioned 1999 season where Dre Bly won the Super Bowl with the St. Louis Rams. For all you old head Jets fans out there, Vinny Testaverde tears his Achilles tendon in that game against the Patriots. Um, Glenn Foley had been the backup in '98. He got shipped off to Seattle, so the Jets had no backup. And Tom Tupa, who he did what he could in that game, played okay. And then they signed Rick Meyer, who was absolutely that was an abomination. The Jets were, I believe, 1-6, and then they brought in Ray Lucas, but unfortunately, it was too little, too late. They did win. They ended up finishing 8-8, so they did finish 7-2 in that 1999 season. If Bill Parcells had put Ray Lucas in a couple of weeks earlier, who knows what would have happened. So I'm not gonna put the totality of the blame on Aaron Rodgers. Unfortunately, at his age, getting that injury, that's a situation you can't control. But there was a lot of other things going on. Outside of football, and Robert Saleh was really not. He wasn't the guy either. So Aaron Glenn, excuse me, the new head coach is out here taking control. And what I really appreciate about this decision, which people are trying to act all shocked. I mean, you kind of knew it was coming. It's like this. It's like in life, and anybody that's been divorced, you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes it's better to get divorced too early than get divorced too late. The Jets are divorcing themselves from Aaron Rodgers. A lot of people feel that they're divorcing themselves from him one year too early, but I think the Jets should divorce themselves from Aaron Rodgers a year too early as opposed to a year too late. With the talents the Jets have, um, right now, depending on the draft and depending on free agency, I think with this new mindset that Aaron Glenn is trying to establish, I think that the Jets could probably win 8 games this season. Understand, uh, 3 of the games that the Jets lost this year, and maybe even 4, were because of the kicker, Greg Zerline, who I hope he never wears a Jets uniform again. So the Jets could have easily have been 8-9, 9-8, and might have even gotten into the playoffs this year, in spite of all the distractions, in spite of the firing of Robert Saleh after Week 5, which that should have never happened. That was another mistake. Woody Johnson, mistake-prone owner, ha, uh, has made. What they should have done, they should have either fired Robert Saleh after last season, or they should have let him coach the rest of this season and then fired him. Jeff Ulbrich he will never coach. He'll never be a head coach in the NFL again. But Jeff Ulbrich, I wish him the best with the Atlanta Falcons. I wish Robert Saleh nothing but the best in San Francisco, unless those two teams play the New York Jets sometime down the road. But again, in my opinion, Daryl Muji and Aaron Glenn, I think they made the right call to divorce themselves from Aaron Rodgers with all the controversy that has surrounded him, whether he was a great teammate or not, which, it just depends on who you ask. A lot of his teammates liked him. I'm sure a couple of his teammates didn't. But it's time to start fresh. It's time to start fresh at quarterback. I wholeheartedly agree with the decision that the new Jets administration made. Now let's go get a new quarterback. Uh, let's let's start trimming the fat. Let's get rid of some of the guys that need to be let go. Starting with Michael Clemens, get him the heck out of town. And I think we should get rid of C.J. Mosley and get rid of Alan Lazard. Get rid of him. Devontae Adams is going to be gone, and let's start fresh. Let's get some young blood into the building, and let's see what the 2025 season holds for the New York Jets. So again, my name is Kevin, and these are my thoughts on the decision by the new administration, General Manager Daryl Muji, and new head coach and all-time New York Jets great Aaron Glenn, in their decision to rid themselves, so to speak, of Aaron Rodgers. The Aaron Rodgers experiment in New York is over, and it is time to move on. And again, it's better to move on too early than